Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com and the Big Four Accounting Firms YouTube channel. Before we get started, just wanted to remind everybody to support us if you have a chance or if you can. Even $1 helps, and we have a link in the description to a website called Buy Me a Coffee. It's just a way to donate to us and support us. Again, any amount is helpful so that we can keep putting out content. And there's also other ways for you to support us in the show notes to this podcast or on YouTube in the description.
In today's podcast, we're going to be discussing hiring at the Big Four. We have a number of the Big Four accounting firms that have already reported, and that's E&Y, PwC, and Deloitte. And we have a lot of their employees' numbers, not all of them. So I wanted to confirm to see how many people they're hiring, because there's a lot of people that are always worried about getting jobs and wanted to speak about that. But it also shows where the Big Four accounting firms' leadership are from a mentality perspective, because if they severely cut on hiring, then you know something bad is going to come. But the numbers don't appear to be that bad. First, let's go to E&Y. Now, E&Y said that they hired 76,000 people in 2020 from almost 2 million applicants. And they said that they did most of their hiring virtually because of COVID-19. Now, in 2019, they had 284,000 employees, and in 2020, they grew to 298,965. And this means they grew by about 15,000 people. And they also said that they had 15,000 internships. And if E&Y grew by only about 15,000 and they hired 76,000, this means that 61,000 people left the firm. And there's probably some partners that retired, but for the most part, it was people quitting Ernst & Young. So you have to remember that even though they're hiring tons of people, a lot of people quit because they just can't take it. And 61,000 is a significant amount of people. That's almost 20% of their workforce that's leaving. And this is pretty common at the Big Four. That's why a lot of people out there that say they love the Big Four, like there's somebody that was saying there's somebody in the comments that was saying that the job is amazing and everything. Well, a lot of people think that, but then 20% of the workforce turns year over year. So the chance of you staying there long term is not that great, because in one of these years, you're going to be one of those 20% people that leave, unless you're one of the very few that stay until partner. But with that being said, E&Y shows that they're still hiring people. But it's a selective process, right? Because it's 2 million people that apply to E&Y, and only 76,000 make it in. So it's really tough, and there's a lot of people that are applying. And I'm sure some of those 2 million applicants, like a lot of people are going to look at that 2 million applicants and panic. But you have to remember, a lot of those 2 million applicants are probably people that shouldn't even be applying. They probably don't even have a degree or have anything in accounting, and they're just trying to get a job. So you have to remember that as well. And so now let's move on to Deloitte. Deloitte also grew in their numbers. They had 312,000 employees in 2019 and grew to 334,800 employees in 2020. And Deloitte said that they hired 88,820 people in 2020, which is really good. That's more than 12,000 than E&Y. But it's down from 2019. In 2019, they said they hired 90,540 people. And that is a 1.9% drop in hiring. And Deloitte said that they had 3.4 million applicants and 23,000 interns. So that's pretty insane. But if you want a job, and you have a pretty good background, then Deloitte will probably hire you. But if you look at the statistics, it's about a 2.6% acceptance rate. But if you get that internship at Deloitte, you're probably going to get an offer. So that's really the key, is getting that internship. And with that, let's move on to PwC. Now, as we mentioned before, PwC's global report was not that extensive, so they did not mention how many people they've hired. And they still provided that 276,000 employee number from prior years. They did mention that their economists expect the economy to contract by 5.5%. That means they expect it to get smaller over the next year, which means that hiring will be down. But we have PwC's previous years of hiring. Now, in 2019, they hired 69,000 people. In 2018, they hired 64,000. In 2017, they hired 59,000. And my guess is they're probably around that 64,000 number in this year. So if you sum all those up, it's going to be just over 200,000 people that these three accounting firms are probably hiring, but that's still a lot of people. So the big four accounting firms are still hiring a lot of people. Deloitte and E&Y gave their internship numbers. So people that are worried about internships, they're still hiring for internships. E&Y hired 15,000. They did it virtually. Deloitte hired 23,000. So the big four accounting firms are still out there hiring people, and they're still hiring interns. So that's good news. And I'm still digging through the annual reports because there's a lot of information in there, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to present it. And there's something I'm noticing as well, that the big four accounting firms are getting more and more involved with global initiatives, not just their own, but from the UN and other worldwide organizations, which I think is very interesting, but it's also scary. But it's interesting, and people can use that to their advantage, especially around the world. So to get those updates, make sure to subscribe to this podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and support us through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes of this podcast. And if you can't, then go to our YouTube, subscribe to that, and comment and like this video. Thanks for listening.